afternoon, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Here's the reason why I did that. So there's a guy at my job, and when he announces like these big payments, he always goes, "Good morning, Las Vegas. We have blah 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 coming through with a payment of blah 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 $1,000." But he has like a long chin. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. What's up? Welcome back to Back to Class, the cinematic movie podcast that takes you back to the iconic films of 20 years ago. I am your guy, Jay Alonso. With me, of course, is
Danger Neff, David Danger Neff. How are you, partner?
What's going on, man?
You know, it's another day in paradise out here in this heat. It's killing me, and I really need I really think they need to change the AC vents in here.
A little bit. It's quite toasty, and it's at night as we're recording this show.
It is. I mean, we have all the lights off. I don't even know if you're there, man.
I'm here. I'm just really silhouetting the back. But how was your week?
I've gotten some really interesting news. I can't really share it because I don't know if anything's going to become of it. So I guess it's a kind of a wait and see. How about you?
My week is kind of really carrying out now, if you will, because I have family coming in town this week. Real quick, I want to send a special happy birthday to my grandmother Yvonne, who turns 84. Good. Yesterday. So I have all the family coming in town for this week, and we're gonna have a big house party, pool party at Grandma's house, and it's gonna be pretty fun.
That's dope, man.
Absolutely.
So this week we're actually going to kind of speed things up a little bit. In terms of movie news, there's not really a lot that has kind of gone on. One big casting announcement has happened, but instead we're going to go ahead and jump right in to the movie because we are a little bit pressed for time today.
And we're really just waiting on Comic-Con news at this point, so who cares?
Right. At this point, we're just kind of waiting for whatever news comes out of that, and we kind of get the idea.
Yes. So with that being said, let's dive into this thing. No 2-minute drill today. We're going to bust this thing out. We're taking it back to 1999. Yeah, baby.
Yeah, baby.
Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me. Original release date, June 11th, 1999. Shares opening weekend with Tarzan.
Yeah.
Production budget, $33 million with a box office total of $312 million. And currently at a 51% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I think that's pretty fair. The thing with the Austin Power movies is that they're all spoof movies. Mm-hmm. Like none of them. It's funny because there is a real storyline that's with it, and it's actually not bad of a storyline. They always find ways to get like all these crazy cameos to come in through them. But for the most part, I think the first one is genuinely considered the best. I think the third one is that's where it really was getting stale for me a little bit.
I enjoyed the third one. This was actually probably my favorite of the three.
Yeah.
Only because it was still very much fresh. And then the one thing that you can always count on Austin Powers to give you is the weird references, like as far as like the giant dick in the sky. That's
right,
a big witness. That's one-eyed monster. Those are great.
Johnson, find out where that satellite is going.
Like Pecker. Oh, look at that giant Johnson.
Anyway. Penis. It's also known as with the testicles as the scrotum. It's also known as tallywhacker.
You one-eyed monster. Come and get your one-eyed monster. Yeah. So I've always enjoyed those movies, and Austin Powers to Mike Myers is Jim Carrey to Ace Ventura. And those characters are going to live on forever.
Do you think Wayne's World or Austin Powers is more prominent to Mike Myers?
I think they're on the same playing field. Yeah. Let's be real, because Wayne's World kicked it off, right, and then it gave the greatest sequel ever. And then he was on a roll. In a sense, he was on a roll from Sorry Murder, Axe Murder, and so on and so forth. And then he landed on. Because don't forget, Shrek is very much in that conversation as well.
Right? Yeah.
So
and in that case, you can kind of say that's probably his most iconic role that he's ever done.
Absolutely, but you definitely can't knock Austin Powers. And then of course, Wayne's World is pop culture. So he has three on edge, like on the level playing field, three iconic characters he's played.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Absolutely.
How many actors do we know that has iconic characters?
Oh man, we can count Will Smith now. He has Agent J from Men in Black.
Sure.
He is now Mike Lowry from 3 Times for Bad Boys.
Yeah.
And he's done a third movie, hasn't he?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he has.
He has to. Let me think.
That has like really stuck out though. That was like that role that was, I guess in that, I hate to kind of say it, but in Pursuit of Happiness, when he plays Chris, like his role in that was so amazing.
I mean, that's what earned him the Oscar nomination, which is, it was sad he didn't win. I would really want to see him win for that performance,
right?
As opposed to Ali. But even Mike Myers, though, and this is a good segue back to Mike Myers, because even he went that same route of doing the comedy movies, and they kind of jumping into the drama for a little bit, which for him, it kind of fitted like when he played Steve Rubell in 54.
Right.
I thought he did a damn good job, actually.
Right, and we talked about 54 last year.
Yeah.
The movie in itself is weird, but
it's odd.
It's a definitely odd movie, but he was definitely he definitely kind of took the reins in a little bit there. And it's funny how we were mentioning Harrison Ford comes to mind when I think of like actors that has like that iconic role. Mel Gibson has two for sure with Mad Max and obviously Martin Riggs, you know. So it's funny. It's funny because even the most prominent actors, you know, don't really have that role. Unlike Mike Myers here.
Yeah, I don't think Adam Sandler even has those recurring characters like that. He has iconic characters, but not even that are, you know.
All of them are iconic. But in terms of reoccurring, no, I don't think he's ever played the same character twice, and outside of Grown Ups.
Now you can kind of say the same thing about Martin Lawrence, though. He's now playing Marcus Burnett 3 times in Bad Boys, Big Mama 3 times now. I believe he's done 3 of.
Well, you can also say the Martin Show for him.
Oh yeah.
And then same
Those
thing,
are iconic characters.
And then same thing with Will playing as himself in Fresh Prince.
But now let's bring back Austin Powers now. Like when you can't, like Mike Myers, he's Austin Powers, but fat bastard.
You know, Dr. Evil.
Of course. He's actually, you can consider him one of the more iconic villains now of our time.
Yeah,
absolutely.
20 years later, it's funny how we you know get this like spoof movie that wasn't supposed to work really, and it just became so cool. Now, one of the things I love about this movie, the acting is kind of just all right, and the jokes are kind of hit or miss now 20 years later. I found myself not nearly laughing as hard as I was beforehand. The stool scene still gets me.
Oh yeah.
That's just so gross. But the one that but the costume designs and the setting. I mean, in this film, you really feel like you jump from the 90s into the 60s, and the 60s was absolutely like grooving, like back then.
And you know, God forbid he loses his mojo,
right?
You know, so which happens to happen in this movie,
of course. So this movie kicks off obviously with the run-on joke of the penis jokes of, or I'm sorry, actually this movie kicks off with the big boy jet launching the egg that's holding Mr. Bigglesworth and Dr. Evil as he comes back to 1999. Now here's where I kind of have to relate with this character a little bit. They land and they go into the secret lair, and Dr. Evil's Dr. Eviling it up. But number 2 is hard selling Starbucks in this movie a little bit. Like, I didn't realize how strong the product placement was.
Oh, in the whole franchise, the product placement heavy.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
But what was cracking me up,
Virgin was all over the place.
What was cracking me up about this one was he was like, if you invest into the stock right now, we can see our profits score up by 5 times. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, huh, yeah, you probably should go that route, you know, instead of like the one terrorist plot that's supposed to get you rich. Which, how much money does Dr. Evil have if we really think about this?
Well, considering how much he demands, is like, how much do you actually have?
Like, what's your overhead? Because he always has a spy out in the field that's able to like destroy, you know, Austin Powers at a whim,
right?
You know, or the creation of the fembots, or the laser, or just the development of the time machine to go back.
Or in this movie, because we get our introduction to Mini-Me,
right?
Recipes of Vern Troyer.
The cloning process. I mean, this guy should be a trillionaire up to this point.
Mini-Me. Okay. I thought even Vern Troyer as Mini-Me is iconic, and the reason why, because even forgive my ignorance on this, but I never thought there were people that size in my life.
Do you not remember Willy Wonka?
Yeah, but I didn't pay attention to it like that. Like, now I'm older now.
He has a song. Like,
You're right,
the Oompa Loompas have multiple songs in it.
Listen, I thought Mini-Me wasn't real. I thought Mike Myers was playing him in this weird CGI thing. God. I swear. He looked just like Mike Myers as Dr. Evil. I'm
right, he did.
Cool.
Yeah, they
turns out that's a real human being. Oh, wow. That's so... Listen, Vern Troyer is forever the man. I mean, like, he's dope, man. But
apparently Jay only sees people from 4'5" and up.
Man, I didn't know it was lower than that personally. But I was like, wow. So shout out to them. Forget my ignorance, but still.
So the idea of this is to go back in time to steal Austin Powers' mojo. Austin, in the meantime, is in this loving relationship with Vanessa. Come to find out, she's a fembot this whole time. This whole time, she's a fembot.
She gives him the best advice. Maybe next time you should try foreplay.
You're right.
You're right.
You're right.
Yeah. Why did I think of that?
But I kind of have to go back to number 2 just briefly because he even like mentions like a really good idea. He goes, "Why don't you go back in time and with your knowledge of the future of the finances, just bet on the right horse each and every single time so you can, the Back to the Future 2 like storyline." I'm like there's number 2. Once again, think about the finances. I was like, that's my guy right there.
He knows how to make money.
But, that's why he's my number 2. Why don't I listen to him more?
Who knows? But so the plot is to steal Austin Powers' mojo, and who better to do it but the Scottish guard, this aptly named Fat Bastard.
This when this came to fruition, it was insane to see like all this huge, like this this huge bodysuit that they say he weighs a metric ton, and I'm like, that's 2,000 pounds. I'm like, that guy weighs 2,000 pounds. Walking around the base, and they were like, is that volcanic eruption? And it's like, no, it's just like a little earthquake. No, it's just Fat Bastard walking around, no problem.
Surprise! Dr. Evil, you keep your money, and I'll get your baby.
You keep your mojo, and you keep your money, and I'll get it. And I want the baby.
Cracks me up, man. I love that particular part. Oh no, better than that. I want my baby back ribs. Genius, absolutely genius.
It was great. Austin. So the mojo is stolen. Mm-hmm. Austin decides to go back in time because magically his department is able to also go back in time to basically back to 1969, as Austin was frozen in 1967, to recover his mojo back, and that's where we get the introduction to Felicity Shagwell, who's played by Heather Graham. And I gotta give Heather Graham credit here. The one issue I kind of have with her is that she comes on a little strong to Austin, a little too fast.
Well, I think that's been her typecasting her whole career.
I think so also. Yeah. But I think this is honestly the best I've ever seen her. Like, everything is just so neatly fitted. Yeah, man.
Groovy. All that. Funny thing, I just watched Heather Graham in The First Hangover the other day. And she's not bad in that either, but it was just... That's been her whole thing, her entire... Except Boogie Nights. She's great in Boogie Nights.
No, you know what? I'm going to change that. Boogie Nights is the best that she's ever done.
She's her absolute best in Boogie Nights. But prior to that, and after that, she's...
Hangover 2, the Hangover 2 Austin Powers 2 is only 10 years apart. So, I mean, like, time hit for her a little bit. And it's fine. Like, she wasn't always the greatest actress, but it was always kind of nice to see her around playing that like fun, blonde, bubbly personality. She was so memorable in Anger Management. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's actually like one of my favorite Adam Sandler movies, to be honest. I love that movie. So
the MOD sends Austin back to 1969 using the time traveling Volkswagen Beetle, which once again talk about pub. Volkswagen was all through that thing.
I'm sitting there. I'm like, man, that flower power like Volkswagen, I would totally pay for that. No problem.
I saw a few of them out and about. That's when after the movie came out.
No kidding.
I remember that. I think Volkswagen was one of these sponsors, or
because the new Beetle had basically come out right at that time.
Right.
It was like 96 is when it came out,
right.
and now it's done. It's gone off production.
Right.
But man. Yeah, the Shagwire.
The Shagwire, man.
The Shagwire with the British, with the Union Jack on it. Yeah, that was great. As they leave the nightclub after having a pretty, I don't want to say a memorable fight, but this fembot was so annoying. You're gonna die, Powers. Use the rocket launcher.
Use the bazooka.
Did you recognize the thug, by the way? That was using the bazooka, and
I can see his face. I just can't think who he is.
It's Kevin Durand. You remember X-Men Origins Wolverine? The Blob. That's the Blob.
Really?
Yeah, he's been in a couple other things also. But like I remember seeing him, I was like, that's Kevin Durand.
Yeah.
Like that's so dope. So obviously escapes a fembot as they're driving back. Mustafa, played by Will Ferrell, and this is honestly like one of my favorite comedic performances of Will here, because he goes and he thinks he's going to. First of all, he's playing Moroccan, which is hilarious because he looks nothing like a Moroccan, nothing like a person from Morocco.
You cannot pull that off,
or Tunisia or Algeria. Like you can't pull off the look. I don't care how tan they get you, like you just don't look like it. So
I think that's a joke.
So Austin's trying to kind of impress Felicity, but it's really not that hard. And they wind up defeating Will Ferrell, and Will in this case, can't be questioned 3 times, otherwise he gives up like the entire plan.
Damn!
He winds up falling off the cliff after getting shot in the neck by Mini-Me, who's in a baby carriage, which is so insulting, but falls off the cliff, and he does this like great kind of skip where he's off camera, but he's like kind of. I'm serious. I'm certain that was all improv there.
Well, had to be.
Where he's just like, I'm gonna try to stand on my leg, but I'm pretty sure they're broken. Stands up.
Yeah, they're broken.
The bone is protruding from the side, and it's beginning to smell like almonds, which is not good.
Not good.
Like we're saying there, like what happens if it smells like almonds? It's not good.
It's not good.
Meanwhile, back in Dr. Evil's area, he's finally recovered the mojo, and Seth Green, who plays his son Scott, they have. It's funny because I find Scott Evil so annoying in this, but at the same time, I can't help but enjoy the banter between them.
Some of the best banter ever.
It really is.
I honestly, like, in every movie from this one to the Goldmember, their banter is just classic. Like,
it really is.
www.com.org. I bit back with your name on it, buddy.
Would you like to suck on my zipple? It's all like, what? Like what's going on here? So,
hey, we need the wow. Subtitles. Zip it. Oh, I love that shit.
So obviously what winds up happening is he takes the mojo, and he begins to get it on with Frau Hause, or how do you say her name?
Frau Farbissina.
Farbissa, thank you. Played by
I
want to say it's Mandy Sterling. It's Sterling for sure is her last name.
Yes, Mindy Sterling.
Mindy Sterling, yeah. That's it. Mm-hmm. Mindy Sterling, and she may actually wind up being my That Chick award because she's more iconic to me than Heather Graham in this. Even though Heather Graham is supposed to be like the eye candy in this, but everything. 30, 29, 28, and she just has this high pitched, annoying voice.
Proud.
She doesn't need a microphone at all. She gives a perfectly fine countdown, no problem.
No, what he says, Frau, just say go. Go! Oh my god.
So they wind up hooking up. Dr. Evil doing this one's for me, and this one is for the homies.
My homies.
It's for my homies. They wind up hooking up. Goes back to us, and they find out that they basically need to collect the stool sample from Fat Bastard. Or in this case, they need to locate him in this case. So what winds up happening is they kind of take a whole bunch of photos of the body, and then there's this kind of it's a scene that doesn't really move the story forward at all, because it's just basically him and Felicity hanging out, building that chemistry and whatnot. And to be honest, there really is very good chemistry between them, as it is just fun. It's like the 1960s.
Everything's kind of just free.
Right. Everything is just kind of open.
Right.
They don't really explain like the time travel thing, because they literally say, just don't worry about it. They literally look to the camera and just say, just don't worry about it. This is where we're going with the story, basically.
Just rock with us. We're good.
It has like a nice little dance with Elvis Costello and Burt Bacharach. Thank you.
And they're in all three movies.
They are in all three movies.
Wow.
And come to find out, Austin finally figures out that, his mojo has fully been stolen by Fat Bastard, and decides not to hook up with Felicity there. And that's kind of where the writing kind of is like you were there.
Well, I agree to a point to where, like, obviously, when Austin turns her down, despite her advances, she is called on by Basil to go get with Fat Bastard to retrieve what she has to go retrieve. Still makes for great comedy, though, because what happened.
He literally says, by any means necessary. So, like, what do you mean by that? And so, of course, the next scene.
Well, surprise, surprise!
We get the bodysuit of Fat Bastard as he's literally eating like a ham bone.
Oh no! The plot was she had to get a tracking device on Fat Bastard
by any means necessary.
And so she sticks the tracking device up his ass. He goes, "Ooh, frisky, aren't we? Give it up!" Love it. Give it up.
Give it. Where's her Me Too movement there, huh? That's how he gets sex. Give it up!
And then proceeds to just roll completely on it, which is, by the way, he doesn't weigh a metric ton. So,
right. So she has 2,000 pounds on her because there's no, because a gentleman like Fat Bastard is going into missionary position, no doubt about
it. Why not?
So anyway, afterwards we get Scott, who then at this point travels back into the past to meet up with them, and they find out what the ultimate plan basically is to fire this laser at Washington D.C. and just to destroy the city unless they get $100 billion, which I think is hilarious because Tim Robbins plays the president in this. And he just like bust out like laughing. He's like, "This is 1969. That kind of money hasn't been around yet."
Wait, hasn't even been invented yet. But also, to credit Tim Robbins, who he could actually give out that guy a word too, because the one part in the movie when the secretary Jack Napier, who didn't he pass away recently?
Yeah, it was pretty recent.
Yeah. Rest in peace, Jack Napier. The president figures he'll just blow the moon, right? And so he goes, "Are you suggesting we blow the moon? Would you miss it? Would you miss it?
Would you miss it? Would I miss the moon? I mean, probably not,
but you never know."
What's he worried about at that point? What if they do miss it? There's just like this random nuclear warhead that's just like going across the universe at this point, ready to hit something
but
somewhere.
It's the moon,
But it's the moon,
Like, I said, we blow the moon. Like, would you miss it?
Would you miss it?
Would you miss it? Love that. All right.
So they collect a stool sample from Fat Bastard after he basically shits out the tracker. And they come to find out that there's traces of a vegetable that's only grown on one Caribbean island. Of course, that Caribbean island is where Dr. Evil's volcanic lair, which, by the way, has his face on it.
Mm-hmm. You know exactly where he is.
Yeah. So that you know exactly where it is. As they arrive on scene, though, they get apprehended. And again, kind of stalling for... Again, this movie isn't really known for its story. Like I could continue on with the story and just tell you, like, what this means for this character and whatnot, but... The reality is with this movie, that's about the little separate scenes that they do just for the straight comedy laughs. For example, in this scene, they decide to go camping on Dr. Evil's lair island. Mm-hmm. So they're camping, and by the way, the bad guys always know where Austin Powers is.
No matter what.
No matter what, they know where he is. It's not a secret. So, of course. We get the scene where they do the shadow puppet thing, where they're pulling out, a gerbil out of a bag and it looks like it's pulling out of the ass.
Gag
it's a continuous gag that plays itself out, and it's funny. It's definitely good. But after Cena and Goldmember, it's a tired gag at that point. But in this case, so they get captured. Austin gets all butt hurt because Fat Bastard got the bag before he did.
You shocked Fat Bastard.
Literally, how could you do it?
Literally, how did you do
it? By the way, there is kind of, this is probably might cut that out. There's a scene that kind of happens where it gets a little musical wise, where it's like they do the "What if God is one of us." And then they do Just the Two of Us, the Will Smith version of Just the Two of Us, by the way.
Wow. I don't think I can cut that out. The reason why is because that itself of Dr. Evil singing is also like a running gag. Because even in Goldmember, he had the Jay-Z Hard Knock Life performance.
Sure.
And so that scene you're referring to when he goes, "Water for God, wash, wanna wash,
no.
La 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 bleed bleed bleed." That shit is funny. And then he goes to that. Just the two of us. Obviously, that was a song around the time. That scene,
like, it just kind of, for me, it just kind of spun its tires a little bit.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. There was a reason why they did. All right. Do you remember the movie, The Island of Dr. Morneau?
Yeah, Val Cameron.
Moreau, yeah. Marlon Brando. They stole that scene, that spoof of the scene where he's playing where they're both playing the piano. One piano's on top of the other, and it's just his miniature piano. That's directly from that movie, so that's why I remember it, because for some odd reason I watched that movie. For some odd reason,
that's not one to watch.
It's it starts out all right.
Then
it gets really weird, in a good way, but then it doesn't get better.
Really weird.
But yeah, like weird movies like that, like it needs to get better towards the end. Yes. You can get weird, just get better afterwards. Yeah. Yeah. But that one totally did not. It just
got weird. Like, okay, so
everybody's an animal. This person is part tiger, part.
Got it. This is still weird.
Anyway, they escape the jail cell because it's only guarded by the one incompetent guard, who, of course, says "Mommy" the minute he sees some titties. Mm-hmm. And, of course, magically... Now, this is where I kind of was like, you guys just had this magically prepped, ready to go as a just in case. They... Obviously, Dr. Evil and Mini-Me fly off to the moon, right? Austin Powers, Felicity, and there's a third person there, which I think is what's his name? Bosley, Bigsley, the person that's in charge of both Austin and Felicity. What's his name?
Basil.
Basil, thank you. And I think Basil's there as well. But they launch in a rocket as well. I mean, it looks like they launched from Florida, which is fine because the island is in the Caribbean. But I'm like, it takes 24 hours to get to the moon, and he's firing this laser in 6 hours. But whatever, like. It's still 1969, so apparently rockets were better in 1969
compared to what's now.
Right.
Come on, Elon Musk, get it together.
So, They get to the moon. Pretty much the ending of this movie kind of wraps itself up a little bit. There is a pretty memorable fight between him and Mini-Me, which actually just kills me with this fight because Mini-Me
that fight is great.
Because Mini-Me may actually wind up being that guy award for me because he's more, in my eyes, he's more iconic in this movie than any of the characters that Mike Myers plays. Because he has like his own little personality and he's a little shit. When he picks him up and throws him against the pole and you just hear this thunk and it just goes down.
But he lands so like stiff.
Like I'm like, oh, you killed him. Like
he landed so stiffly.
Like he's over. And then he basically gets shitted out into space. Survives space, by the way.
Yeah.
But he gets shitted out into space, you know. He's really iconic.
Not to mention he jumps up and goes right for Austin's nuts.
Of course. But I mean, what else is he going to reach for?
Yeah.
You're not going to go for the knee.
Now, I will say this. The last moment with Fat Bastard before the movie wraps up is also a great moment because just like you love him and you can't wait for him to come back for the third one. But when he gets with Felicity and Austin, in the
room?
In the room.
Hold on. Before we get into that, let's because we still need to wrap up the movie in terms of like what happens with the laser and whatnot.
Laser.
The laser.
Okay.
So basically, by the way, I loved the scene where Dr. Evil like earlier on, you know, he shows like this is what the laser is going to happen. And it's totally it's the scene from Independence Day. It blows up the White House. And like everybody in the White House is like scared out of their minds. And I'm like, that's a genuine reaction because I would be scared shitless also. Damage report.
He's like,
so basically comes up, Felicity is captured and it's either save Earth or save Felicity. And Austin makes the right choice in saving Earth. But, of course, he goes back into time where now there's two Austin Powers, and they basically play it out to where they both save each other. Right. Dr. Evil winds up escaping, obviously, into spacecraft right at the last second, setting itself up for the third sequel. It fast forwards to like a month later. I think it's a month later.
About a month later,
because they decide to use the time travel device to go forward in time to 1999. Right. Mm-hmm. You know, because the only thing that happened in the 70s and 80s was apparently a flock of seagulls in the OPEC.
And that's about it.
In the OPEC oil spill.
Yes. So Felicity and Austin, they are throwing a party. And then Fat Bastard just happens to show.
Mind you, he doesn't open the door.
He does. He kind of walks right through it.
He really does.
And I love this scene because so he sees Felicity, goes, "You want more of this?" All that shit, right?
Right.
But more than that, though, when he has this breakdown moment, I can't stop eating. I eat because I'm happy. I'm unhappy because I eat. Like
it's a vicious cycle.
By the time we get to the last part, who am I kidding? I'm a kid anyway. Love that. No, prior to that, he farted.
Right. And it's like this long, drawn out one.
Sorry.
So he's going to kill them both. Felicity kicks him in the nuts, and he basically goes down afterwards. I haven't seen my Willie in 2 years, which technically means it's dead.
Declared legally dead.
And he goes down and basically lives happily ever after. The after credits, though, would show that Mini-Me is basically picked up by Dr. Evil to end the movie. Felicity cheats on Austin with the Austin of 10 minutes beforehand. Mm-hmm. And I think that's kind of how they kind of wrote out her character for Golden Member, because I don't remember her being mentioned at all.
At all. Yeah. Mm.
And then what else? There's a scene with Will Ferrell towards the end where he actually does a makeshift splint to come up the mountain, but the splint breaks and his leg breaks again, falling back down on it. And then what's the other last scene? It's that.
I remember Madonna being like the lead singer for the soundtrack.
Yeah, because she had "Beautiful Stranger."
Yes, and then Lenny Kravitz.
And that's another thing. That's another thing we didn't really talk about was the soundtrack for this movie.
It was great, actually.
Was amazing, absolutely fantastic.
Lenny Kravitz.
Seth goes on. Scott goes on Jerry Springer, and makes up with his mom.
Right.
Gotcha. Right. Who is now confirmed to be Frau Farbinia.
Right.
Right. And that's Austin Powers. Spy Who Shagged Me.
All right, let's get to some takeaways, man. Who's going to give that guy a word?
It's going to go to Mini-Me. There is a strong part of me that wants to just give it to Mike Myers because without Mike Myers, there is no movie.
Right.
So that's kind of a special mention for me. But in terms of who's the most iconic for this movie, Vern Troyer. It's the introduction to him into the world. Vern Troyer has never played a bigger part than he has with this. And to be honest, he's actually quietly really effective in this because he's adorable, but also creepy at the same time. He's hilarious when he needs to be because it gives you the image of somebody who's 1/8 your size, chasing you, and what that image of that kind of looks like. He's funny. He is absolutely the most iconic character in my eyes in this movie. Fat Bastard taking a very, 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 very close second. So yeah, that's my That Guy award.
That chick award.
It is going to go to Frau. I liked Felicity for who she was, but they clearly had a role for her, and to be honest, like she's effective in what she does, but Frau is just more iconic because she's just so like she's so demented, and she's so like scary, and just like how she projects her voice and whatnot.
Right.
And it's just it's the kind of comedy that works in this.
Right. This full award.
I hate to do this. I really do, but I have to give it to Scott. And it's not because he's not effective, just he has more annoying parts as like this pissed off teenager than he does actual funny parts, which is sad because his banter in this is actually really, really great.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll see that. Cut that out.
Thinking about what you said, I'm not going to cut out the musical numbers, because they do have their point in the scene, but there is like little small tidbit jokes that they could have sped past. For example, when they first land on the beach, we get that impressive shot of Heather Graham. Okay, but we already know how great she looks.
Right.
Okay, and then they do the same thing with Mike Myers, or better yet, kind of that whole scene with the Russian model who winds up like being fascinated by him and make love to me, animal boy. That scene.
No,
it's funny.
Ostapanovich.
Right. It's funny. It's funny, but at the same time, like it feels like an unneeded comedy at that point.
Right.
It could have honestly been cut out.
I give you that one. Iconic scene.
This is tough. The iconic scene for me is when Austin first travels back into 1969, steps out of the Beetle of the Volkswagen Beetle, and he's at the Austin pad. Which, by the way, do these people just like go to his pad like a nightclub also? Because that was a lot of people to be in your house,
right?
For while you're not there, frozen.
Yeah, I just realized that. You're right.
Because you've been frozen for 2 years, but everybody knows where your shag pad is.
You're not home. Right? And they're having a whole full-blown club in your apartment.
But now it's relatively clean also. So who's coming in to take care of this place? Do you have a renter?
They're just very clean partiers.
And that's great. But that scene where it's just like it's the 1960s and everything is so cool, and the girls are randy for her, for him, and they're like going wild, and he's having a lot of fun with the scene. To me, that's what Austin Powers basically is. He's goofy. Maybe he's not the best spy ever to be created because he's just a spoof of everybody, but he's fun. He's a cool, fun British guy.
Right.
All right, partner. Who's getting your That Guy award?
That Guy award is going to have to go to Austin Powers. And Austin Powers is the character because, really, including this movie, but I would include all three movies. This character has become so iconic that people will practically like almost demand for a fourth one.
Not only that, but they also dress up as him for Halloween.
To this day,
yeah, still to this day, 22 years later since 1997.
Yeah,
when it first came out.
And for me, there's not another. Well, there are other characters that have reached that platform, but as far as like the iconic level of that character, which was meant to be a spoof of other characters, it just stands on its own. Now can he do it Austin Powers 4? I would love to see it.
I know they talked about it.
I'm not gonna rush. If you're gonna do it, take your time.
Right, exactly. Mm-hmm. Would you like to see any of the old? So, would you like to see them Indiana Jones for it a little bit? Whereas they bring back Heather Graham or obviously Beyonce's probably way out of the price range now. Or
far removed.
You're not probably getting Beyonce, but bringing back Elizabeth Hurley.
Yeah.
Even though she died as the fembot.
Right. I would like if this would be the final film, I would like to see some familiar faces. Like Hurley, I'm kind of good on, but bring back Heather Graham. Bring back Wagner. He's still alive, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Bring back number 2. Bring back. Obviously, you'd have to do some sort of a tribute to Vern Troyer,
right?
Obviously, and then really bring back bring back the cast, Seth Green, everybody, and then we could really churn out some good shit here. But I don't want to rush.
Sure. That chick award,
Ivana Humpalot.
Really?
Yes.
The person I'm talking about cutting that out. She's the iconic. Go ahead.
Ivana Humpalot. Number 1, that is Kristen Stewart.
Not Stewart.
Kristen something. But she was on Third Rock from the Sun. She was on a few good shows, actually.
Johnston. Kristen Johnston is her name.
Yes. And she's great. She's really tall, right?
You know what? She really is.
She's really tall.
She has to be 6 foot, right?
If not 6'1", she's tall, dude.
She is.
She reminds you of Daryl Hannah of like that.
There
time.
You go. Yeah,
you know what I mean.
That's fair.
So she's great, and even though she's there for brief moment, but that Ivana Humpalot, she's dope. You know what I'm saying? It gave me a lot of Vagina was last movie, and a lot of Vagina was gorgeous. This is just funny. Yeah,
that's fair. That's fair. That Fool Award.
This Fool Award, I'm gonna give it to. Number 2, because he didn't necessarily.
You can't get rid of the finance guy, Jay.
You really can't. But in fact, he really didn't really push to let that even understand where you're coming. And I get it. If you go against me, he'll kill you. But you had some good ideas, man. You didn't really like push to like really get it across.
Number 2, it's funny because I don't. They get Rob Lowe, and Rob Lowe at that time is pretty much right. Dead center at the peak of his career because he had his West Wing run where he was incredibly popular, and I just don't feel like he captured the role that he really should have in this. Because think about it, because he also had Tommy Boy, that was only 4 years earlier, and he was absolutely phenomenal in that as well.
Very true.
But all right, cut that out.
I'm gonna agree with. Oh no, the long running dick jokes, which they are fun, but they could definitely be cut down about 3 or 4.
That's fair, yeah, because it happens twice in the movie.
Okay, it runs on for because it does happen twice in the movie. It run on for so long.
That's fair.
Okay, we can chop it down by 4, maybe. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Yeah.
And iconic scene
easily, and I think the iconic scene for this one would be my iconic scene for all 3. It's the opening dance number. That's what initially just gets you hyped for the movie, because really,
wait a minute, I'm single, baby.
Bump, ba-da, da-da, pow.
Do 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 do.
Like Soul Bossa Nova by Quincy Jones is so iconic because mind you, that song's been out well before Austin Powers.
Sure.
However, it's now synonymous with Austin Powers.
Right.
So. And I didn't even know that was a Quincy Jones song until the 3rd movie when he shows up as a cameo.
Right.
But that song is so iconic to this character and to this movie, to this trilogy. You look forward to whatever the opening gag is going to be at that dance number.
Right. You know I remember the opening for Goldmember. And that was pretty remarkable too, because that was the one where they had Tom Cruise playing as Austin Powers. Danny DeVito as Mini-Me may have been.
Hey, I'm Mini-Me, come and get me.
Hey, asshole, is all flipping him off, you know.
I'm Mini-Me, come and get me.
I think the Austin Powers movies, and you know, again, you got to keep in mind, this is a spoof movie, a spoof series. There's only been one. There's really only been two iconic spoof series. One of them had three. Airplane 1 and 2, obviously. Naked Gun 1, 2, and 33 and a third. Right.
I love that one.
Yeah, me too. And Scary Movie 1, 2, 3, and 4. Which, you know, you can kind of take it whatever after 2. But, you know, a lot of people still enjoyed them. I mean, Scary Movie for me, you know, back when the first one dropped, that was the most popular movie in Aviano at the time.
Oh, man.
No, I'm serious. Like I was looking at an old yearbook, and they're like, best movie to come out that year. And it was like synonymous to be Scary Movie. Because, again, we only had like so many select theater releases. That happened to be one of them. And that was
big, man.
And that was packed. That was packed to the walls. It was
Scary
crazy.
Movie was big, and Scary Movie 2 was huge.
It was. It wasn't it wasn't nearly as funny. But there's moments in it that are I can't help you with my good hand. Like, you got to take my little hand instead. I love so good. He's so good.
We have Scary Movie coming up next year.
Is it
2000?
It is the 2000 movie. That'll be fun to do.
Oh yeah. So let's get some quick hits, wrap this puppy up. When the movie was released in South Korea in 1999, Austin Powers, International Man of Mystery had never been shown in theaters and was only available on illegal videotapes under the title Incorrigible 007.
Nice.
In order to explain the characters and setting to the audience, the distributor attached Madonna's music video for Beautiful Stranger in front of the theatrical print and summarized the plot of Austin Powers, International Man of Mystery in on-screen subtitles during the music video. Austin Powers International Man of Mystery was released in South Korean theaters for the first time in 2000 under the title Austin Powers Zero.
It's funny because going on that Madonna thing, like that was kind of at a peak. That was at like the tail end of Madonna's like peak career because she came out with Beautiful Strangers, and Beautiful Strangers is a really good song.
Oh, she had a solid, real
right,
big
but she also had Frozen. Like I remember that really, really well because that was an excellent song also. But yeah, so you know to have that, I know was American Woman out before this movie had come out because
it's on the soundtrack.
So I know it's on the soundtrack.
I believe it's made for the movie.
Okay, because that may be Lenny Kravitz's most iconic song. You know,
I remember seeing it in theaters when American Woman does come on. I'm like, I'm really into this song.
It's a good song. I've seen Lenny in concert, and it's one of his final songs that he performs.
Oh, nice. Rob Lowe's impression of Robert Wagner was developed several years before its appearance in the film. Lowe dated one of Wagner's daughters.
Fair enough.
Let's see here. An early trailer for this film was unusual in that it referred to another film scheduled for release in the summer of 1999. It included the voiceover, "If you only see one movie this summer, see Star Wars Episode 1 of Phantom Menace. But if you see two movies, see Austin Powers, Despite Shagged." I totally remember that teaser. I remember that teaser. Oh my God. I just thought about it. I'm like, wait a minute. Oh shit, Austin Powers too? Oh, I'm down for this. I remember seeing that teaser. Yes, I do. I really thought it was a Star Wars trailer.
We're gonna have to circle back because unfortunately Star Wars kind of happened in our hiatus. We're gonna have to circle back and talk about that movie also.
Oh yeah, and the impact that had. Although the word shag is less offensive in the U.S. than most other countries, not all translated the title into something less raunchy. The Norwegian title of the movie is Spionen som spermet meg, which is slightly dirtier way of saying the spy who ejaculated on me.
Wow.
Okay.
Sweden with the hard take.
Nasties. Got you. Okay. The line, I'm even better off them, my feet, was originally intended to be on my back, but was deemed inappropriate for the movie.
Right. I could see that.
Let's see. The actor who was run over by the steamroller in Austin Powers International Man Ministry is also the NATO monitoring technician in the beginning of this movie, which is Michael McDonald.
Right. Yep. I knew that. And that's funny because that may be the funniest part of the first Austin Powers is the whole, because he's still like 20 feet back. No,
like move.
And they're telling him to move.
Okay. So, we'll do two more. Catherine Zeta-Jones was considered for the role of Felicity Shagwell. Oh, okay. Don't think it would have went over as well.
I don't know. Maybe. I think it could have gone all right.
Okay. Let's see here. Let's do one more. In Croatia, this film's title translates as The Spy Who Groped Me. In Brazil, it's The Spy Get in Bed. In conservative China, it's The Spy Who Liked Me a Lot.
Who liked me a lot.
That is today's show. We know we sped through this joint like we got places to be, because we do. But with that being said, much love to you guys out there. We'll be back next week. We may have a guest on next week, depending how we'll kind of circumvent, if you will.
Sure.
But with that being said, plugs. Dave, let's know where they can find you.
Oh, God, it's plug time. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Technically, I'm back on Snapchat. I think it was only for the one day.
You never left.
No, I left totally. Danger Neff, David Danger Neff. You can always find me there. I'm the co-host here for Back to the Classics. Also, the account manager for Beat Network. We got some things kind of coming up. We wanted to wait for movie news till after Comic-Con, and who knows, maybe there won't be anything that we truly find.
Or we may have a whole show dedicated to Comic-Con.
Right, exactly. So I guess we'll kind of find out from there. But yeah, if you're interested in being promoted on the show, shoot us an email, and we'll see what we can do for you. My guy Jay Alonso, where can they find you?
You can find me on all the social media simply at I am Jay Alonso. That's Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter. I am now back on Twitter now. Yay. Of course, follow the Facebook group, Back to Classics, a movie talk group on Facebook, where jump in and join the conversation, as well as the
Spoiling the Classics.
Spoiling the Classics, which is something that Dave does, and I need to really get on it. But besides that, don't forget to follow us on iTunes, on Spotify, on iHeartRadio, of course, at Back to Classics, of course, here at BeatNetworkOnline.com. With that being said, have a fantastic weekend. I'm going to be eating ribs, drinking beer, hang with the family.
Nice.
Yep.
I will probably be doing the same.
Oh, yes. Let's not forget. It is Dave's.
I was really hoping that this would be forgotten.
No, I'm not going to forget it. I'm going to say it right now. Happy early birthday to my partner in crime, David Danger Neff, who, if he's available, he'll be partying with us as well this weekend.
I guess we'll wait and see.
We'll see how that transpires. With that being said, I am Jay Alonso. With me, of course, is
David Danger Neff.
See you next week, you guys. Peace.
Peace.